Killed at the age of 26 by the Manson family, Sharon Tate's promise as an actor was left sadly unfulfilled. But during her tragically short career, she did manage to make her mark. So here are all of her on-screen performances, ranked worst to best. 1963's The Wheeler Dealers and 1964's The Americanization of Emily default to the bottom of any list of Sharon Tate's performances for one simple reason. There's no surviving footage of her to judge. By 1963, Tate had caught the attention of producer Martin Ransohoff, who signed her to a 7-year contract. Her work in The Wheeler Dealers, produced by Ransohoff, was likely cut. But what's significant is that Ransohoff had been extremely protective of her image, careful not to overexpose her or put her in roles before she was ready. In The Americanization of Emily, also produced by Ransohoff, Tate is credited as Beautiful Girl. As with The Wheeler Dealers, pretty much all we can say about this one is that the fact that Ransohoff was putting Tate out there in movies meant that he thought she had the potential to succeed. Sharon Tate spent part of her childhood in Verona, Italy, where her army officer father was stationed. As a teenager, she and some friends stumbled upon a movie shoot and ended up as extras. American movie companies often filmed in the area, recruiting extras from the nearby army base, and Tate put her name in for any more extra work that came up. In 1961, when she was 18, the production team for the religious epic Barabbas came to town. The movie told the biblical story of Barabbas, whose freedom is granted by Pontius Pilate, instead of Jesus Christ. Tate and 2 friends were selected to appear in some of the crowd scenes that required a large number of extras in an era before digital crowds. Although it was a tiny, non-speaking role, Tate's work in Barabbas is significant because it impressed one of the film's stars, Jack Palance. He talked to her about acting and offered advice for how she might manage a showbiz career. He then took the unusual step of arranging for her to travel to Rome to have a film test done. That test didn't directly result in any work, but the experience did encourage Tate to pursue a life on screen. If you're not familiar with Mr. Ed, it was a deeply silly sitcom about a talking horse named, naturally enough, Mr. Ed. It aired in syndication and then on CBS from 1961 to 1966, and it also featured Sharon Tate's television debut in the Season 4 episode Ed Discovers America. Martin Ransohoff got her the role to give her some experience. She's officially credited simply as Girl, and her performance consists of making out with 2 different men and being nearly unrecognizable in period costume. Ransohoff later brought Tate back to Mr. Ed for the episode Love Thy New Neighbor, and this time around, she had dialogue. She plays straight woman to the talking horse in a brief bit in which Mr. Ed tries to start a conversation and says some relatively sexist things to a harried telephone operator. These are very minor roles, so it's difficult to extrapolate much about Tate's abilities here. But everyone has to start somewhere, and she looks great, appears comfortable on camera, and demonstrates a knack for comedy. By 1964, James Bond had inspired a full-on craze for suave secret agents, and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was one of the many properties cashing in, airing on NBC from 1964 to 1968. It featured American and Russian agents working for a secret international intelligence and law enforcement agency. Tate appeared in the Season 1 episode The Girls of Nazarone Affair and was credited as therapist. She played one of 4 women who use a secret serum to gain incredible strength. It's a small role, and her main function is to run around and look good, but it's significant as the first significant screen time of her career. She's in plenty of scenes, and she gets to show off her physical acting skills. It also served as a lesson for Tate in Hollywood politics, as series lead Robert Vaughn was apparently fairly condescending to her. That prompted Tate to surprise him with an unusually hard, choreographed punch to the stomach while shooting a scene, which in turn caused the crew to erupt into laughter and proved that Tate was tough enough for the business.
She was just dumbfoundingly attractive.
In 1966, Martin Ransohoff cast Tate in a small but pivotal role in the horror film Eye of the Devil. She was supposed to make her big screen debut as a witch living on an ancient French estate, but the film was plagued by production problems that had nothing to do with Tate. Original lead actress Kim Novak was injured, and Deborah Kerr replaced her and had to reshoot most of her scenes. Also, the writer left, and no fewer than 3 directors worked on the film. This was Tate's first major role, and her performance is strange. A review in the New York Times at the time described her acting as, quote, chillingly beautiful but expressionless. The performance is indeed expressionless, but this also seemed to be a deliberate choice for the character, who is meant to be supernaturally ominous. For her first major role, Tate achieved what she needed to, as she proved she could do more than stand around and look pretty.
What hypocrites you all are. What stupid hypocrites.
If you want to watch an actress literally learn her craft right in front of your eyes, then check out Sharon Tate's appearances on the Beverly Hillbillies. She showed up in 15 episodes of the CBS sitcom about a family of poor hillbillies who discover oil on their property and move to Beverly Hills, California, where hilarity ensues. Once again, Martin Ransohoff got Tate the role. She first appeared in the 4th episode of Season 2, Ellie Starts to School, as a student named Mary. It was a disaster. As author Greg King noted in his book Sharon Tate and the Manson Murders, it was hard for her to read a line. Ransohoff leapt into action by signing Tate up for speech and acting classes and insisting that she apply new discipline to rehearsing her lines and working on her craft. It paid off. When she later returned to the show, she had a regular role in a brunette wig as bank teller Janet Trego. This role gave Tate invaluable experience, and it also demonstrated that she could not only perform, but also that she could take criticism and do the work.
Do we get Possum Day off?
1967's Don't Make Waves is an odd film. It stars Tony Curtis as a middle-aged man who arrives in hippie Central California and pursues a much younger surfer and skydiver named Malibu, played by Tate. It's not exactly a comedy and not exactly a drama. As for Tate, Malibu is a pretty shallow role. The actress's main job is to look beautiful. She was paid only $750 a week for her work on the $4 million film, but it nevertheless ended up being her breakout role. The marketing campaign heavily featured her in a bikini, and she also appeared in a product tie-in with Coppertone. Photos of her in skydiving gear were even mailed out to all branches of the Parachute Club of America. Considering the limited size of her role, Tate does a good job, and she received decent reviews for her performance. She's relaxed and funny, and more importantly, she impressed everyone involved with her work ethic and attitude, which convinced other directors to cast her. The Fearless Vampire Killers, also released in 1967, is a horror comedy, directed by and starring Tate's future husband, Roman Polanski, whose work as a filmmaker has long been overshadowed by his flight from the United States in 1978, after pleading guilty to the rape of a 13-year-old girl. Martin Ransohoff bought the American distribution rights to the film and radically edited it for domestic audiences, much to Polanski's dismay. But in both cuts of the film, Tate stands out. This is easily her first truly good performance. Tate conveys a joy and innocence that works well for her character, who's the love interest for Polanski and victim of the local vampire. In a film that somehow combines silly slapstick humor with genuinely chilling imagery, she imbues her character with a depth that isn't in the script, as she uses facial expressions and body language to rise above being merely pretty scenery. Also known as 12+1, 1969's The 13 Chairs was the last film that Sharon Tate worked on. She was pregnant during filming, and some scenes had to resort to tricks to hide her growing baby bump. This was also the film that best showcases what Tate could have been had she lived longer. It's a perfect match of oddball comedy and Tate's own sensibilities. Based on the 1928 novel The 12 Chairs, which would be adapted again a year later by Mel Brooks, the story concerns an Italian barber named Mario who travels to England when his wealthy aunt dies, only to discover that his inheritance is just 13 antique chairs. He sells them and then learns that a fortune in jewels is hidden inside one. He doesn't know which one, though, so he teams up with an antiques dealer played by Tate to track down each of the chairs. Simply put, Tate is very good in this, as she handles the physical comedy and leans into the absurdity of the film, as she and Mario go to ridiculous lengths to track down and retrieve the chairs. When watching 13 Chairs, it's obvious that this should have been the kind of film that Tate pursued throughout the rest of her career, as she had a genuine talent for comedy. The 1967 drama Valley of the Dolls was the film that firmly established Sharon Tate as an actress. Overall, though, the movie isn't particularly great. Roger Ebert, for one, wrote that, "The story is so confused that we can hardly keep straight just who has done what, but it doesn't matter. They all do something. But despite the confusion, Tate stood out and was even nominated for a Golden Globe for Most Promising Newcomer. The role of Jennifer North was custom-made for her. Jennifer is an attractive actress who's insecure and worried that she'll only be appreciated for her body. Tate's life up to this point prepared her well for the role, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't any acting required. Considering how famously bad the film is, the fact that Tate's performance could shine through it all is very telling. She finds a real sadness and sense of injustice in a character who exists solely for the melodramatic end that she meets. And even in that end, Tate captivates, looking glamorously despairing as she takes a bottle of pills and drifts away.
She's lovely. I bet 100 beads pop off every time she moves.
There's a reason Quentin Tarantino focused on the wrecking crew during the scenes with Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, as it's hands down Tate's best performance.
Well, that's me, the girl from Valley of the Dolls.
The Wrecking Crew was the fourth and final film starring Dean Martin as secret agent Matt Helm. Martin was in an indifferent phase of his career, and the films aren't highly regarded, even as mildly funny parodies of James Bond. Nevertheless, the clumsy and frustrated character Freya Karlsson turns out to be the role that Sharon Tate was born to play. She's easily the best thing in the film, and really the only reason anyone talks about it or bothers to watch it today. She has great comic timing and performs some excellent fight choreography. Her performance works as well as it does because she takes it seriously, even if none of the other actors do. If you ever had any doubt that Sharon Tate had what it takes to be a big star in Hollywood, then just watch her in The Wrecking Crew, and that'll be sure to change your mind. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about your favorite stars are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.